There we go. I just started the
That's
recording.
it. Yeah, I had some. I had half. Yeah, I had half.
All right.
It was
Sandy,
less
Amy,
than
are you
a
ready to
half.
go?
Yep. Oh, I forgot. Let me get my other thingy. What's, no. What's our around here? Sorry, I totally forgot to get this ready.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm ready.
Okay. Ready to go then? Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
How's everyone doing tonight?
It's
Fantastic.
fine.
Good. All right. Well, we will begin the meeting. And the first order of business at tonight's meeting is to approve the minutes from the August 11th, 2020 board meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
I seconded it, although I was not in the meeting itself.
I think all three of you seconded as once, but we'll give it to Bob. All right. Is there any discussion in those minutes?
You're giving it to Bog after what the Nationals did to the Orioles? Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Well,
What do you
no,
do?
I have mixed loyalties, yeah. But
I think the Orioles still did take 4 out of the 6, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
So,
But
yeah.
broke 2 series, right. You're
Yeah.
right.
All right. All in favor of approving the August 11 minutes?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I think that's everyone. All right. Next up.
I think Larry's here.
Yeah, I'm asking him to unmute. Oh, well. Don't know.
I don't know. It could be another. Oh, nope. Now the picture's coming on. Now it went away.
It's thundering out.
Of course, it could also be another Larry.
No, I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know. There's no. Oh, no, there he is. Oh, no. I think he might be having technical difficulties. I saw a quick flash.
Larry was
camera.
on for a second there.
Yeah, and his camera just flashed on real quick. It is him, but
Now, he's still on the list of participants, but he's muted.
Well, he can unmute. I've been asking him to.
Oh, there he is.
there he's unmuted.
Okay.
I'm having problems with my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, it looked like your camera flashed on for a second, but you can hear us okay?
Yes, I'm using my cell phone.
Okay.
Probably a little problem.
We just approved the minutes from the last meeting, and I was about to call for a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, discussion?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all in favor, give me a show of hands, and Larry, if you can't get your phone to cooperate, just give me a yes or a no. So all in favor? Okay, I have a yes from Larry, and I have hands from everyone else. All right, very good. Okay, resident remarks. Any residents in the audience, if you have remarks to make, please go ahead and switch on a camera or use the Zoom feature to raise a hand, and we'll give you your 3 minutes. Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll go right into, we don't have new business tonight, so we'll go right into old business. So I will turn it over to Sandy to walk us through the second revision of the fiscal 21 first quarter budget. You want to bring it
Okay.
up on the screen, Sandy, or are you going to do that?
I I can.
Is it easier if I drive and you talk?
Yeah, but do you have it? It's part of the whole packet.
Yeah.
Okay. Really, there's one major revision, which is that right after our last meeting, we got in the mail a $10,000 check as a grant from the State of Maryland Small Business Association. So we redid the financials before the first quarter was done to include that $10,000, and it goes into our revenue account under under miscellaneous other. So it's counted as revenue as the year goes on. It's really to be spent on COVID related and payroll issues. So that then decreased our deficit when we project the year end from 14,000 down to 4,000 $900 something. So we'll still have a deficit, but we added in that $10,000. So that was the significant change.
That's a better deficit.
Yeah.
Jonathan,
So-
is there a problem with your screen? It says we're viewing your screen, but it only says Zoom.
I
I
see
see.
it now.
You don't see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
More than Zoom? Okay.
Sandy, is there a page on this you wanted to direct our attention to?
That's what I'm looking for, because so if you look at, actually, you're gonna have to look, Jonathan, at our first quarter financials that I believe I sent last week. And then there's a budget spreadsheet by quarter.
Okay, yeah, that's where, oh, there it is.
Yeah,
There it is
So-
right there. So it's in part
Right.
7D of revenues. If
Right,
everyone
so
can see it
that's,
on your screen.
where we have the $10,000 and we received it in the second quarter, so it's in blue. And then the other things were not consequential to the budget. That was the main part of it. That's revenues. If you go to the next page, Jonathan, of expenses, you see the bottom, the fifth column, 2002 revived, and you see minus 4,266 at the bottom. That's the deficit, as opposed to what was 14,000 some odd dollars. So it was revised for that, since it happened after the last meeting and before our accountant did the first quarter. So she took all of the numbers and reviewed everything, and then that's the revision.
Okay. And we've already spent, what, something like $8,000?
Yeah, and we
COVID
haven't gotten a
mitigation?
bigger bill for the fans for the electrical work. So, and plus, it includes payroll and utilities, so,
So basically, this grant's gonna pay for
yeah,
like all the COVID
right,
prevention. or
right. First and
mitigation
foremost,
stuff
before
we've
the
done so
loan
far.
would
Okay,
kick in, because we might not need that. And
all right. Are there any other substantial changes you need us to look at?
no, not on that.
Okay,
I'm looking for Bill to unmute him. There we go.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept the second revision of the fiscal 21 budget with the addition of the $10,000 grant. Is there a second on that?
I second.
All right. Any further discussion? Bill, just to catch you up, we're looking at the revised budget document that incorporates the $10,000 in grant revenue. Brings our end of year projected deficit down to around $4,000 instead of $14,000.
Great.
Okay, all in favor of accepting the revised budget? 1, 2, 3, 4. Did we lose Larry?
Hey,
I don't know.
Jonathan, I think you lost me though. Could you see if you need to admit me again or?
You're there. We
I
see
see
you and we
Ginny, I
hear
see
you.
you,
I,
but I don't see Larry.
No,
I don't
Larry
see-
seems
I don't-
not here.
I don't see any of you. I'm going to try and come in again.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're
you
all, we're all.
Oh, yeah,
I
All right,
think
so
Larry
let's-
has left.
we're okay.
Let's redo this vote. So we're all in favor of accepting the amended budget? Okay, I have me, I have Lynn, I have Paul. Bog, do you have a hand up? Okay, Bog and Bill.
I have to abstain because I wasn't here for the whole discussion.
Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, none opposed and 1 abstention. I think I counted right.
Keep the same spreadsheet up, Jonathan.
Okay, let me go back to that screen. All right, hopefully you can see that again.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, so this spreadsheet then, can you move it, Jonathan, or go to the
Yeah.
top page, go to the first page. Go to the next page. Keep going. Well, you can look at this. It just shows you, compared to this same quarter in FY21, the biggest difference would be in net assets. So last year, we had in liabilities and net assets, $360,239. Right now, it's $247,379 with a change of negative $112,860. It's just all that's lost rental income, basically. And so go to the next page. Okay, so here, we'll go to the, okay, so the first is our actual quarter, the first column. So we take the whole, the quarter of each budget compared to the whole, but the annual charge share that we receive from CA, including the medical part of it, was $92,947. Our revenue for leases and rentals for the first quarter was $650. That will change because we now have a everyday 5 days a week daycare at Talbot Springs. And in November, the daycare at Thunder Hill's coming on, and they will be paying us also something for September and October. And the Village in Howard is $100. But they only had a half a month that they used for the daycare in the first quarter, which was $550, and the Village in Howard another $100. And then miscellaneous income was basically the sale of resale documents. That's $920,000 for our total revenue for the first quarter, $94,591. Our staff salaries, and if you look at prior year to date, that shows that we've cut our salaries pretty much in half, almost exactly, through furloughs and layoffs. So last year, the first quarter was $77,000. This year, it's $39,500. The payroll benefits and taxes go along with our staff salaries. The pension contribution has been reduced, and that's per what CA does from 6% to 3%. Then we have our janitorial expenses, which if you look at last year, were $11,500. That was offset also by revenue from rentals, but now it's just under $3,000. The fees are what we pay for computer fees, online services, recycling fees, just anything that we're paying, web security fees, all of that goes under fees. Operating expenses were COVID related, and as you can see, last year was 841. This year was 2,183, but that's before we ordered our biggest expenses with the fans and stuff that were ordered. We just paid that bill now, basically. Insurance, that's pretty much, that was our D&O employees, and then there'll be another big one that we just paid, which was general liability. Advertising is consistent. It just depends exactly when we get the bill, but it's a yearly thing we divide by 4, and that's for the wedding wire online. Utilities are half of what they were, and that's good because our building usage is nothing compared to what it was last year. Repairs and maintenance, again, very low compared to last year because we're not using anything for it to break yet. And the bottom line is that the actual quarter, we, based on our budget and based on our quarterly spreadsheet for the budget, we have a revenue of $31,195. We are not in a deficit. But then we, that's spread out for the year. And so hopefully we can keep that up. It always looks good the first quarter because we're not comparing it to any other quarters in the year. But when you compare it to last year, you can see the difference in our total expenses, basically more than half. So that's what it is. It is what it is.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Sandy?
No, I think it's fairly simple.
What?
It's good.
Oh, okay.
All right. Next up on the agenda.
We have to, we don't vote. Why did I go into that? Jonathan, I just went into my report actually while it was up. So we can vote on it under manager's report.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess we could have voted either place.
Yeah.
But since the vote is on the agenda under that, we'll do it there.
Okay.
All right. Next up, we have, bringing back as old business again, the fiscal 22 CA budget request discussion. Let me bring that document up real quickly. And we still have plenty of time with this, so we just decided we would, at the last meeting, we decided what we wanted to have in there. And then if there were any additional thoughts after a couple of weeks, make sure we take another look at it.
Well, I changed the text to put in everything that you wanted you to say.
Yeah. So we have our, as we discussed last time, we have our acknowledgement of the financial situation, the thanks to the CA board for the sacrifices and the due diligence, the fact that our request is a wish list for when CA returns to solid ground, and then we go into the things that we talked about last time. So, second floor restroom in the other barn, the look at the association to bring in a consultant to evaluate the entire status and operation of CA. And then, within financial constraints, the ADA upgrades to the Talbot Springs Neighborhood Center, and then the, work with the Howard County government to explore the second sheet of ice at the ice rink. And then, of course, the hope that the parking lot surfacing continues to be scheduled. Sorry, not surface. Well, yeah, resurfacing. It's not really repaving, right? It's a resurfacing.
I don't know.
However they do it, yeah. Any further questions, concerns, ideas for that testimony?
Jonathan, in the first paragraph or second paragraph, did we thank CA for the long list of things that they were doing for us in September, and et cetera?
That's at the
We
end.
close with
Oh,
that.
at the end,
Yeah,
It's
we
in
start
there.
with kind of a blanket thank you, and then we close with the specific thank you.
fabulous.
Yeah, right here.
You got it. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Comments? So we still have technically, one more meeting before we have to finalize this, but if we want to, if anyone wants to make a motion to, go ahead and approve this now, if everyone's comfortable with it, we can do it. We're in old business, or we can bring it back at the next meeting if anyone is still thinking things over.
Jonathan, could I make a suggestion on that?
Yes.
We're already getting letters from other village boards, so unless there's something here that you really need to rethink, I would suggest you go ahead and get it out.
I'm happy to do it that way.
Well, I'll get it going that way. I'll move that we approve the CA fiscal year 22 budget request as written.
Okay, I'll second that. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Okay, all in favor of approving as drafted? Okay, that looks unanimous. All right, very good. Thank you.
What was the number on that? Because I can't see everybody.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
That's like a pop quiz whenever you do that to me. You know that, right?
It's hard to see when you share the screen.
Yeah, I have to like
Yeah, you don't
scroll
see
through it and the
everyone.
pictures don't come up.
Yeah, well, the same thing happens to me over here. It crams everyone
Yeah.
into the side, and then I have to expand it to see everyone again. All right, let's see. Oh, that's the end of the old business. We're already at the board chair report. A couple of things for the board chair report. First of all, recall that the board chairs have that meeting with Andy Stack and Milton Matthews this Thursday. Andy did send an email earlier today saying that there really isn't an agenda. They don't have any presentation material prepared, but they want to have, I guess this would now be the second, in an ongoing series of conversations about both the CA finances and the village finances so that we can understand better how to work together and plan together. So, I'm very happy that's happening, and that's what I know, and I will report back everything I learn after I go over to that meeting. It's Thursday evening over at the Owen Brown Community Center. Another thing, and this is one where I want to get some input from the board. I'm not going to go into specifics about the address of this property, since right now this is just an allegation, but we haven't proved anything, and I want to protect residents' privacy. But a local resident has been contacting members of the board, pretty regularly for the past few years about a suspected in-home business going on in Oakland Mills. Recently, Bill, Lynn, Ginny, and I have had meetings with the resident making the complaint. While Lynn and I were out of town last week, Bill and Ginny had a follow-up meeting with that resident, as well as with staff from the Department of Planning and Zoning. And one of the reasons Bill, Ginny, Lynn, and I have been meeting with the resident is the resident's been bringing it to our attention, and we were also close enough to the situation that we've actually seen with our own eyes that there's a high likelihood that there's a business being conducted. The outcome of those couple of meetings were that DPZ and the resident would like, if the village board agrees, that we take an action. And that action would be to make a formal request to the state of Maryland to research their business database to determine if there is a business entity registered to that address. And the preference would be that we do that under the letterhead of the village board rather than just as Oakland Mills resident, to see if that carries more weight. Bill and I did both try to go out to the state database and search for ourselves. Unfortunately, the search function on there is very, very limited. You either need to know the Basically the business's state file number, or you need to know the name of the business to find it. So if the name of the business isn't obvious, there's no, even though address is one of the fields in the database, there's no way to search address or anything else. So it looks like if we are going to learn from the state whether there's a business registered to that address, we're going to have to request that someone with the probably the Department of Assessments and Taxation at the state level do some research for us if they're willing to do that. So again, this isn't this is kind of a quality of life issue for the neighborhood. We do have some covenant authority when it comes to in-home businesses. However, it's been very difficult for our covenant advisors to, you basically have to be there nearly 24/7 to catch it happening. And with our covenant advisors' limited time, it's virtually impossible. Even when we had someone working on it a couple of years ago, the person was never called in the act. DPZ has caught the person twice. Unfortunately, they've caught them twice on separate cases, so the process kind of resets. Now, to their credit, what DPZ is doing is they're going to the Office of Law and saying, well, what would we need to escalate this or to take it to court? If we found the person at stage 1 twice and we've sent them the letter and they've done the cease and desist for 30 days, but then they return to doing it, how can we escalate this so that we're not forever playing the game? So that's really what DPZ has agreed to do. And we're being asked if we would make the inquiry with the state on the database to see if there is a business registered to that address. And we would have the right to do that under our covenant authority because it does give us the right to regulate in-home businesses within Oakland Mills. I don't believe we necessarily need a vote on this or anything because it really is just an inquiry from the state, and from that we can determine what, if any, action we want to take. But I wanted to run that by the other members of the board who haven't been involved in the discussion to see if you first of all want to learn more, want to have further discussion, or are okay with us going and asking for the state to do that research so that we can then report back in more detail about what's going on. If we did want to have a discussion about the specific property and the owner, I think at this point we would have to do it in a closed session since it's not an open covenant case right now, and it is a potential legal matter. So it's not something we should be discussing in open meeting, because of the potential legal ramifications, and also for the privacy of the residents, because this isn't a case yet. Our staff isn't working it. Bill, Lynn, Ginny, anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think you covered it.
Did an excellent job.
I have one question though.
Yes, sir, Bob.
What sort of business is that person trying to operate?
I don't think we can disclose that at this point, can we?
Yeah, it is.
Open session.
It is what I will say. It is the type of business that does have an impact on the neighborhood because it generates traffic. So it's not like someone just working on the computer out of their home. There are clients going to and from that business on a regular basis.
I get it. Thank you.
Any other questions? So really, about Bog and Paul, since you're the only other board members here with us right now tonight, I'm kind of putting you on the spot. Is it, like I said, we don't need a vote or anything. Is it okay with you if we just go ahead and put something to the state on Oakland Mills letterhead so that we can determine, whether or not there's even an official business registered to this address?
Yeah, I
Yes,
think.
Paul.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, Paul had a hand up. Paul, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, I'm good with what you're doing.
I showed my hand in approval.
Oh, I'm trying to call on Paul Bog.
Can you hear me?
Paul,
Break it up a little.
your sound is very choppy.
Yeah, I've been getting choppy noise. I'm good with what you're doing.
Okay.
I have a question, Jonathan.
Yes.
Did you get any, because I wasn't in the meeting last Friday with Amy Gowan, Did you get any sense from her that this would be, that if we got that information, it would be enough to confirm that it is an in-home business? Because that's what we've been wrestling with, being able to confirm that it's an in-home business.
Let me say this, Lynn. Jeannie and I were at the meeting, and the issue was, what would the Office of Law say is significant evidence to be able to take to court this case? And Planning and Zoning, Amy was going to talk with lawyers about that. And we mentioned that there was a receipt, that there's online advertising. I think you saw that.
Mm-hmm.
And that we raised that issue in the call. If this was an established business with the state, as it should be, if it weren't in the home, that also would be evidence, so that P&Z could take that to the lawyers, take it to court, so that we were looking at what are all the possibilities. Amy's going to cover that with the lawyer, but we felt the more the better. And we agreed in the call that we would try to ascertain with the state if there was indeed a license by the individual.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? All right, then I'll take it as an action to draft something to the state, and I think it can actually be submitted via email, but we can back it up with a hard copy via snail mail as well. Not that I know that anyone is in the state offices opening the snail mail, but you know, it's just the cost of a stamp. Okay, and unless there are questions for me or follow up on anything else outstanding, I think that's all I have for the board chair report this week. Okay, I will send it over to Ginny for the CA report.
Thanks, Jonathan. Just a couple of quick things. One, the ice rink. It is open, as some of you may know, but it's open only for groups that can be controlled. For example, the Columbia Figure Skaters and the Huskies. It's what's called a control group. You know, you can control their behavior. You know, they understand what to do. We're not ready to open it to just anybody coming in there and crashing into somebody, and you know, you have all those concerns. The same is true of the roller rink in the Supreme Sports Club. While that's open and the pool there is open, we're not opening that because you can't control the behavior. You can try your best, but you're risking some liability issues. So that's not open. So at some point, the ice rink, we're hoping, will be open for the general public. Let's see. We're working on, I'm trying to tactfully say this, so I'll be a little vague, but there was some, you could say alleged, or you could say misinformation that was distributed in some of the Facebook things just recently, which is very unfortunate because it was created by a CA board member, but unfortunately it was also reproduced and supported by a member of our community. We'll be responding to that shortly. So maybe that's all I'll say about that. Childcare. This is a concern that I have, Bill, I'm sure Parks and Rec probably has the same concern, but I did ask that we check on how successful Parks and Rec is being in terms of, are they getting a good response for the childcare services that they're offering in the schools? So far, we have 20 full day and 25 others that are sort of either partial or some days, you know, signed up. Now that was with the group that originally had been attending CA before and after school programs. Now we have this new program that'll be offered in the classrooms, 2 teachers for, I think it was 13 kids. Don't hold me to that, but I can, if you're interested, I can send you the frequently asked questions and answers on this issue of childcare. So it's, instead of waiting till the 27th, it's been open to the general public. that can also look at signing their child up for CA childcare. And of course, as you had in your email today, Jonathan, excuse me, they can also be signing up for Parks and Rec, or there are tons of other options available to people. Housing. Bill, I was not happy with the head consultant of your housing task force. Is her name Erin?
Erin Talkington.
Yeah, you know how lousy I am on remembering names, but she presented to the group that Paul is representing you on, the CA general plan study for Columbia Association and for Columbia. She gave a very comprehensive presentation. However, her approach was basically, we need a lot more affordable housing. And by the way, we need it in Columbia. And we should be looking at, you know, how we reinvent our village centers and et cetera, et cetera. So at one point, when she finished, I suggested that she read one of the other consultants that's on the task force, Ann Forsyth's book, which basically said the two failures to Columbia are housing and transportation. But here's an issue that I had. I said, take a look at the Howard County map again. And they, luckily, I would really appreciate this, they flashed it up on the screen. And when you take a look at that, you see significant number of acres in Howard County, which you all know, but that's rural. When it's rural and it's not in the metropolitan district, it's not in a water and sewer district. So where are you going to put high density, attached, affordable housing in that area of the county? You're not, unless you change the zoning there. So I said that you're ruling that out. So what does that leave? It leaves the rest of the county that is in the metropolitan district that's already heavily developed, correct? And you're also, if you're just talking about Columbia, let's remember how River Hill was established. They rejected any rental at all. They rejected what Rouse would have normally wanted, HRD wanted, by a 3-2 vote of the zoning board, and it all had to be condominiums. Clarksville did not want rental, and they succeeded by a 3-2 vote of the zoning board. So you're really going to go out to River Hill or Clarksville and get, quote, attached homes or affordable housing. You know, I said Dorsey Search is not even Newtown zoning. Where are you going to be doing that there? Because I've never heard complaints about too much affordable housing there. So you're really coming back to what? The older villages. And you're completely ignoring the whole issue of how we got where we are in terms of the increased percentage of, quote, farm students in our older villages. And it's caused a problem for our schools, which we told you that to start with when you purchased the Verona. When you went to purchase, I guess was Grand Point in those days, it would have even made it worse. Now the county is saying, oh, we've got to do something about equity. Duh. You should have known that this was going to be an issue. So now what are you talking about that you want to do now that makes any sense at all? And take a look at where is the land going to be in the part that's metropolitan district, where you can build anything for the most part. So it's an interesting issue. I just want to share that with you. I don't know, Paul, if you have anything to add to that.
I would just second what you're saying, because I mean, with all the verbiage that they gave us, they kept saying, well, Columbia has affordable housing, both for sale and rent, yet in the same breath, they're saying more should go into Columbia. And I take violent exception to that.
Yeah, Jenny?
Yeah.
I was I was on the meeting, the online community meeting,
Okay.
for the task force today. And I agree with you. I mean, I found the gist of it was, you know, Columbia has jobs, Columbia has transportation, Columbia already has affordable housing. So let's put it in Columbia, more in Columbia. And the only thing that I heard differently was that they said, well, another good opportunity would be the Route 1 corridor, which again is just kind of, you know, to put it all in, you know, the east part of the county. And I wanted to add just something that I never knew. I only found this out like a couple of months ago, is that we know about River Hill and we know about what is it, the Maple Lawn.
Maple Lawn.
About Maple Lawn, but also that Turf Valley was given a special zoning as a golf community, and that as their special zoning option, they don't have to have any affordable housing. And
They're special.
they're special, and it's just, you know, it's so frustrating, and we hear it over and over again. But I will say that as frustrating as the meeting was, that our very own representative, Bill McCormack, at the end of the summing up of the breakout meetings, really, you know, really spoke our truth and did it just very clearly, very specifically, very concisely. And as he said, when I contacted him later this afternoon to say how much I appreciated it, that what people are losing sight of is that they're thinking what we need are more affordable units. They're not thinking about what impact does that have on the already existing community. They're just saying, we need to have it, where can we stick it? And hopefully as this goes on, more people, you know, right now I think that the people there are already kind of in agreement that it should all be in the old neighborhoods in Columbia. I mean, it sounded like kind of a predetermined conclusion, but hopefully as this process goes on, it's gonna broaden out.
That's interesting to hear. Let me give you some background that goes back to I think it was the early 1980s, maybe before that, when Ruth Keaton and I, Lloyd Knowles, Tom Yeager, let's see, one point Dick Anderson, then I think it was Liz Bobo, were on the county council, and we did the general plan for Howard County, and we also did comprehensive rezoning. One of the things Ruth and I suggested is we do want to save farmland, but at the same time, there are people out in those rural areas that don't want to move here when they get older. They would like to live out there. Mm-hmm. So we suggested that you take Route 70, because if you're going to run water and sewer, you don't want to run it all over that area. You're talking about thousands of acres. You want to save farmland. I mean, that was something I fought for. So we said, let's make it 25, or I forget how many acres that you had, you know, you actually zoned it as farmland, as well as you could have agricultural preservation. But you would take Lisbon, Mount Airy, Woodbine, I think it was, the little already existing village centers, so to speak. They don't call them that, but they're little towns along Route 70. You have where the county fair is. You know, you have that. Target those areas and allow for some build out like we have. It's a village concept that we have in Columbia, and you allow for higher density there. And not a lot of it, but you sort of allow for some, and you could make that, we didn't have the 10% quota in those days, but we said that would allow for attached homes. And then after that, you have agricultural, okay? Well, Ruth and I voted for it. 3 other council members that were on there voted against it. Now, it may have been because the farmers came down and surrounded the courthouse with their wagons. That may have been why we lost that vote. I'm not sure, but we lost it. That would have been progress in the late 70s. That would have been future thinking, in my opinion, and they could still do that.
Well, and not only would it be forward thinking in the 70s, but having, you know, been here forever and worked out in those parts of the county, as a teacher, I can tell you that the super affluent nature of the western part of the county is a relatively quite new development. That when all of those communities out there, everybody is not super rich, and a lot of people who live out there have been forced off of their properties because they just couldn't keep up with the increase in the property taxes and all of the rest of it. So I think that there would be a lot of people out there who know they don't, they're essentially rural people, and they really don't want to be in a mid-rise apartment, high density place in the middle of Columbia. And I think there is a real need for that. And not only that, but people in larger houses who want to downsize, and they don't want to, they don't want the urban flavor of what Columbia is turning into. And so I think that that's well worth raising again as an option.
Actually, Lynn, to follow up on that real quick, I'm sorry, I don't want to monopolize this, but at a recent hearing, maybe actually 6-7 months ago, on another area of the county, I was impressed with the council member from Western Howard County. I can't think of his name right now.
Youngman.
Yeah, Republican, that was very interested in 55 plus community, which we were talking about in another area of the county, but he was very interested in, well, why can't this work for exactly what I'm talking about, my area? So you can do that without creating this huge problem, because you do not want to run water and sewer lines all over there. You're only asking for development, but you control it. And to have allowed the Maple Lawn, to have allowed Turf Valley, you can go down the list, to have allowed, and just say we can just create problems all over the eastern part of the county is morally wrong, in my opinion.
Yes, yes.
Much less it's not smart, because then you're creating problems where you're going to be busing our kids out to Western Howard County. It might be a nice field trip, I don't know.
Well, they even brought that up in the meeting today. They said, here we have the under-enrolled schools out in the county and the overcrowded schools, in the eastern part of the county and in Columbia in general. So I think there's room for a lot more discussion that is not just on the one track of what needs to be done.
Hey, Ginny, I have a question. Since this is, since they're talking about Columbia, do you think that the CA board would be interested in playing a role or taking a position on this? I know a couple of years ago when I asked Andy about, like the school crowding and school construction, he kind of shied away from this. But I mean, I think one of the challenges is when people say Columbia, they don't necessarily mean, the 10 villages of Columbia. Not all the Columbia villages even have Columbia zip codes or Columbia mailing addresses. But what ends up happening is you have situations like you have now, where each village is trying to go it on their own and pull their data together and, make their case, for, against, or why or why not. But it just seems to me we need, if they're talking about Columbia, we need a Columbia response or a Columbia position. And the CA board is about the only entity we have that can kind of speak for Columbia.
Well, I mean, I think that's what we're trying to raise in terms of what positions we're going to be taking on the county general plan. That's what we're talking about for the next couple of months.
Okay.
And in December, we're going to be coming up with something.
Did you like it?
Oh, Paul?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that because Jenny has a good point. The CA board has not weighed in on a number of things that they should have. I think they've lost sight of the fact that that CA is responsible for maintaining property values within Columbia or even increasing them. They've walked away from that. Don't ask me why. It's not our problem. And all the stuff that's now accumulated, particularly over the last 2 decades, with all the wealthier, high-end development going outside of Columbia, or as I put it, in the donut, that's the rest of Howard County. we've had to absorb that particular issue. And there doesn't seem to be any indication that the CA board will even address this issue. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, I see all these slides that keep coming up, and, you know, like Lynn said and Ginny said, it's all trying to put any new affordable housing into Columbia and making that palatable.
Well,
So,
she want me to respond or? Okay, a couple of things there. One, the boards have a responsibility as an HOA, like any place in the county, to really take positions, okay? And I think you wouldn't want that taken away from you. The other thing is, when try and get boards, if boards don't take positions, and I think Oakland Mills and maybe one or two others are exceptional in terms of taking an active role in a lot of things. But for the most part, your CA representatives, you know, the board, if their boards don't care, and they don't in many cases, or they don't want to take positions, I'm trying to say, you know, how do you expect the other, you know, some of us to get the votes from the CA board to get this to be an issue? Just take the Symphony Woods, the value, you know, the importance of what our board did in terms of trying to protect the land in the whole Symphony Woods area. How many other boards have taken a position yet? Now, I know some other boards are considering it. King's Contrivance followed, they did. Well, actually, I guess they got the letter. I know some residents in other villages are trying to get their board to take a position. But if the boards aren't taking positions on this, they're sending a message to their CA rep. It's not simple.
well,
I mean, we've gotten a lot of things done in the last couple of years with the CA board that they've never done before on different issues. So I personally see some progress on issues that they didn't have this attitude of we've got to take an assertive issue on advocacy. I feel strongly we should be, and you've seen some changes, or maybe you haven't seen all of them, but we have taken positions on gun violence. We've taken positions on environment. So we have done that on different issues, but that's part of the problem, guys.
Well, Columbia is on a downhill slope and will continue to go on a downhill slope unless it speaks with some kind of a voice before the council and make sure that it doesn't continue. I mean, Montgomery County recognized to the east of 29 that they had underinvested in Silver Spring. That took almost 20 years for them to finally look at it. And, you know, the same thing may have to happen here where the county says, well, you know, we're just going to continue to underinvest. We're just going to put stuff where, you know, the developers can make a pretty penny and put all the low end stuff into Columbia. I won't be around to see that mess, but it will be here at some point.
Well, they've already done some of that, haven't they? The older communities, which is sad. So I mean, I think some of us have been trying to fight that. I'm pretty angry about it myself.
Ginny and Paul, toward the housing discussions that you're having with the consultant, Aaron Talkington is our consultant also on the task force. On the task force, as Lynn noted in today's discussion, there were people who said that the redevelopment opportunities in the older villages and along Route 1, part of Route 40, could add more housing below AMI, below the area median income. And there are about 6 or 8 people on the task force who feel that that is very negative. Their concerns are segregation, concentration of low and moderate income housing, the inequity in the school system. As one school person said in the task force, we're not going to have 2 counties, the rich county and the poor county. We're going to deal with this issue. So there are probably 6 or 8 people on the task force who have the same point of view that I do, that their areas of concentration need to be deconcentrated. That is one of our stated goals, and that we can do part of that through redevelopment. The issue that I keep pushing is that we need to connect housing decisions with the school system, that we need to, and as I say at most every meeting, that there's 74 schools in the county. The county average farm rate is 22.5%, plus or minus a third is 15 to 30%. About 20% of our schools are between 15 and 30% farm. 40% of our schools are below 15% farm. 40% of our schools are above 30% farm. 5 of our schools have at least 60 and over % farm. That's a great deal of inequity. We need to fix that. We need to have housing policy that moves those school farm percentages toward the middle, toward the average. And I have, I'd say, 6 to 8 people on the task force who are of that thinking. There are maybe 3 or 4 people, 5, that have come out and voiced the opinion that with redevelopment, we need more affordable housing in Columbia. I wait till the end to bring that in so that I can begin to realign their thinking, hopefully, that some knowledge is very powerful, hopefully that they will see that where the below market housing needs to go is where there is none in the county, and where it isn't needed is where there's a lot. And I'm working with people on the task force to move in that direction. I do feel that there is hope that in the final recommendations that we will steer clear of adding more below market or below AMI housing in areas that already have concentrations, that there is a significant voice on the task force in that direction. So what I feel is very important is for all of us to do as Lynn did today. Tomorrow night, I think it's 6 to 8, we have another community engagement meeting, and then September 10th. And it was in that flyer that Brigitte sent out this week. You please register for those sessions and be on those. We listen to the residents, everybody gets their chance. Please get on those calls and be very vocal and very vehement, and even violently vehement, as you might say, Paul, to let people know that those areas that already have a lot of below MI housing do not need any more, period, end of story. That we need to look at those areas like Turf Valley, Clarksville, Maple Lawn, rezone those areas so that they get below AMI housing. And we need to be very vehement and vocal in these 2 calls. And also, you can write the task force, go to the Howard County Department of Housing Community Development, look at the left-hand menu down toward the bottom, Housing Task Force. Go there and look at the opportunities to give feedback. It's critical. I sent out a second notice today to the members of the Housing Committee. Please get involved. It's very important that you're there. Today's meeting, I only saw Lynn and Phil Engelke on the meeting. We need to show up in numbers in these next 2 meetings. Voice these opinions. These are critical. They do get written down in the minutes. Thanks.
Bill, are you suggesting the board take a position on this, or do we need to wait for the report and then react to it?
What we can do is first be in the community meetings so that we can say, hey, we were at the community meetings. Also, Thursday, there is a task force meeting that is a task force led discussion session. It's entitled a holistic approach, what went right and what went wrong, and it's open to the public. Be on those meetings. See what's being said, as Paul and you have seen what's being said by the same consultants to CA, and then say, bring to the board, maybe we as a board need to take a position. Now, we already have in our Village Center community plan, and I have voiced that in the task force meetings. But I'd say after this week, be at a few meetings, and then we could bring it up potentially as new business in our next Oakland Mills Village Board meeting about taking a position on the Housing Opportunities Master Plan Task Force. It certainly wouldn't hurt. We've taken a position in the Village Center Community Plan, and we could enhance that position.
Yeah, I would just add that meanwhile, there's also a survey that's part of the task force. And so in addition to participating in the meetings, to fill out the survey.
Okay, Ginny, anything else?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, no.
Okay. All right, Sandy, I guess we'll go back to the financial statement. Were there any additional questions for Sandy on the financial statement? Otherwise, we just need to do the vote to accept the first quarter financials. We already did the revised budget, but there's a second vote on the first quarter financials that Sandy walked us through at the beginning of the meeting. Sandy, was there anything else you wanted to say about the first quarter financials? You're muted, Sandy.
You didn't want to hear my dog before.
Oh.
She doesn't like thunder. So I don't think so, other than the reason that we are on our own right now is that we've had to make all the cuts in salary, because it's basically rentals and salaries. And so hopefully, you know, we're at Brigida has been like doing tours, and for 2021 we are totally booked with rentals. So
Wow.
you know, I'm not worried, and I think that given the cuts we've made and just really not spending other than necessities, I think we should be okay unless things change financially with the assessment. So, I think we're good.
All right.
Right.
So I'll make a motion to accept the fiscal 21 first quarter financial statement. Is there a second?
I'll second it since I was here for that part of the discussion.
Okay, Bill seconds. Is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's everyone. I did that one fast, Amy.
Yeah, well, I saw that. Share the screen that I have a problem.
Okay, and Sandy, did you have more on the facilities?
No, everything's pretty much the same as 2 weeks ago, other than we've started to go in, and Brigida, as I said, is giving tours. Brigida met yesterday, and I'm meeting tomorrow with CA to go over all the things that they're doing in September. So there will be scaffolding around the whole silo. We're not going to be using the building in September while the main stuff is being done. The beginning of the month, they'll be setting up all the silo scaffolding and working on that inside and out, and then doing the carpet and the floor in the loft. And they asked us not to be there for that, which is fine. And then at the end of the month, they're going to be doing the HVAC units and then shutting all of that down. So it'll be a month of excitement and things going on. So that's all going fine. And the RAC committee is doing well. There are so many people doing things to their houses. I don't know if it's more than ever, but like next week we have 16 applications. And that's just, you know, what it is. It has slowed up 2 weeks after that, but people are doing major things to their houses.
Good.
Possibly it was the that they're home. They want to make their house look better. They got, you know, some stimulus check in the mail. We can do these projects, remove these trees. So we've got a good routine going, and that's all good. Can't think of anything else unless you have questions.
Any questions for Sandy?
No. I don't.
Okay, committee reports. Lynn, anything on architecture?
No, just to go along with what Sandy was saying, that the applications that we're getting for external additions and changes are just really excellent. They're really well done applications and some really really exciting things. And the RAC committee is working really hard. Sandy and Brigida are working really hard. Corrine is working really hard, and we're getting through it. It's actually, I have to say that on Zoom, I think that it's easier for people who are making the applications to kind of join in to the meetings, and so that makes them go a lot more smoothly. And it actually is, for the most part, fun, in which which is has not in the past always been the case, but it has been. As Sandy said, that people are maybe using their stimulus money. I think also you're not going away on vacation. So that money you would have spent, for your week or 2 weeks at the beach or wherever, people are putting it into their houses. But as Sandy also said, we're getting a lot of applications where they're doing something, but they also include in it taking down trees. And as most of you know, tree removal and replacement is a big issue for me personally, but I think that for a community like Oakland Mills, Stevens Forest, I mean, all of these neighborhoods where we really enjoy the canopy, the tree canopy that we have. And actually, this is a question for you, Jenny, and also for Bill, that I saw while I was away. I saw some emails going back and forth about getting a timeline from the county about tree removal and replacement, and who was responsible for the trees in the cul-de-sac circles, and who's responsible for the trees that are, CA property or on the street. And so any information that you got about that, as far as timeline goes, or considerations, or who should be contacted, I know that Sandy probably has them, but I'd like it if you would forward that information to me also, so that I have that right on hand. Anything new that I wouldn't necessarily already know. And that's it for me.
Speaking of tree canopies and, basically equity in housing and everything else we like to talk about here, did Lynn or did anyone else see the recent, I saw an article, it was in the past couple of days, where they actually did, I think, a thermal profile of the city of Richmond. And I mean, you could actually identify like the wealthier versus the less wealthy, and also the whiter versus the less white areas of the city by literal heat maps, because of where there was investment in things like, tree canopy and other environmental measures versus where you basically have concrete and asphalt. So, I think it is important, as we're talking about the redevelopment of older communities and what's going on throughout the county. While I think it's important that we preserve farmland out west and take care of things there, we should also be making sure that we're maintaining what we have here in Columbia, because I do think that is one of the great things about Columbia. It's a city of 100,000 people, and at the same time, it's very green.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more, Jonathan. And I'm very aware of it when we're at the beach, because we can go down one street, we bike a lot, and we can go down one street, and it's just great. It can be a very hot day, but the street's really shady. And then you'll turn onto another street, no street trees, and a lot of paving. People like to do their whole front yard in rocks so that they don't have to worry about the grass. And boy, it is just, it just is sweltering. And it is very much an equity thing. There's a reason that when you read about somebody and where they live, and they're trying to give you an impression of, just without saying this is a really, wealthy neighborhood, they'll say this is a leafy suburb, or this is a beautiful leafy street. They don't say this is a really treeless concrete wasteland. So I think it does behoove us. We do have a very wonderful streetscape in Oakland Mills in general, and I think it's just up to all of us to preserve it. And I know I've been appalled by the number of trees that are actually dead, that have been cut down, but that in the problem that we kind of inherited is that when Columbia was first developed, so a lot of these trees are 50 years old or more, and they planted the landscape architects at the time tended to plant one street all in one kind of tree, and then at the corner property they would blend the tree on the one street, the type of tree with the type of tree on the cross street. But so that little area was a little bit of a mix, but the streets tend to be a monoculture for the trees, so that when something happens, like the emerald ash borer or whatever, it just goes through the whole street. But as they replace them, as things die and are replaced over time, rather than having them come in and replace them all at once, I think we'll be in better shape in the long term, in that trees will be, thriving and going on a decline at all different rates. So we won't be faced with the thing that you see in a lot of older neighborhoods, where once it had really beautiful street trees and now it has none. So I think in the long run, we'll be in good shape.
Ginny?
Yeah, Lynn, this is just a suggestion. Maybe what you're really asking for is, what is the process the county's using to, one, cut down a tree, and two, to replace. I would suggest, because some specifics, I'm not sure that really matters, but the process is important. And I think you may want to think about asking somebody from the county that does this to come to the board and answer those questions. And if you wanted somebody from CA to do the same, I'd be happy to make sure that happens.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We did that actually a few years ago with one of our Renew, Restore workshops. And we had John McCoy, and then we had the fellow from the county whose name I can never pronounce.
Jagarapu.
Yeah. And they came to
He still is.
I think John's still furloughed, but I can check until we get the money. I think he's going to be furloughed for a while. But we can get somebody, Dennis.
Okay, right.
But, I would get the county person, because I'd love to hear those responses as well.
Okay, good.
Quite frankly. And that would be a general thing, not specifics, because it would just tell you, is there a process in place? Does it make sense when a tree suddenly comes, gets removed, and the residents might say, why? It looked alive, it looked fine, what's going on here? And then when will it be replaced? And why was it taken down to begin with? So I'd love to get those answers too. I don't know, it could be an interesting meeting.
Okay, great. Good suggestion.
All right, thank you, Lynn. Looks like we're on to the bulletin board. So I'll go, actually, Lynn, you're in my bottom left Hollywood square, so I'll just stay with you for the bulletin board.
No, I have nothing more.
Okay, Bill?
Nope.
All right, Ginny?
No, thanks.
Okay, Paul?
Yeah, I just got a notice from HCCA that Howard County is giving away free trees.
Yeah, I put it out on
Since
the,
we're on. Yeah, it's there's 4 or 5 types of trees, and the pickup is in September. You can go online and reserve your tree and pick it up. I mean, I don't think there's anything that prevents a property owner from putting a tree in the space in between the sidewalk and the right-of-way if a tree's already been put down and taken down. I mean, it seems to me this is an opportunity to replace some of those trees.
No, I don't know about that. I wouldn't want to go on record for saying that we want to encourage people to plant their own street trees. But
You got a liability maybe there.
yeah, I think we can plant small trees in our cul-de-sac circles, or at least we do. So I hope that's okay.
I put it on Facebook because that's where I saw it today, but I can tomorrow put it out as an email. And I went on, and the one tree I wanted, of course, the dogwood was not available. But most of the trees will grow about 40 to 50 feet. There's 4 types, and one of them had gum in it, so I would worry about that. I don't know the name of the real gumball
I
tree,
think
but.
they're all native species, I think.
So I'll send that out tomorrow. Today I quickly did put it on Facebook and I went excitedly to order my dogwood tree and I couldn't.
I wouldn't get the gumball one, Sandy.
No, I'm not getting any of them because actually I don't want a 40-foot tree really on my property right now. But,
The cul-de-sacs
nice.
are still confusing to me, and maybe that's something else the county could clarify if we get them in, because on the one hand, right, the residents are responsible for basically like, mowing and trimming of shrubbery. And, in the past when we had the money, we would do the cul-de-sac improvement fund where you could buy supplies and people plant flowers and stuff. But I know for a fact that once a tree grows, the county becomes responsible for the tree, because when I moved here, we had 3 very tall dying evergreens and the county came in and took them down. So, I honestly, I don't know if I stick a baby tree out there today, when it gets to a certain height, does it become the county's problem? Or I don't really know where the line is between what residents can do to the cul-de-sac circles and what the county has to do. But I think that would be another interesting question.
Right,
Mhm.
and in particular, the easement,
Yeah.
where the street trees go.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. That's a very good question.
Okay, let's see. We were still in bulletin board. Amy, do you have anything?
No.
Okay, Bog,
No, I'm done. Yeah.
you're on.
No, I'm okay.
Oh, you're good. Oh, I thought you said. I thought you were raising your hand.
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Sandy, anything?
No.
All right, and nothing from me. So thanks everyone very much, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Take
Have
care.
fun, everybody.
Bye.
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 Okay, bye.